France says its investigation into the death of the late former South African ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, is complete and has ruled it is a suicide. However, South African officials say they have not received a final report. The 58-year-old Mthethwa was found dead on 30th of September 2025 after falling from the 22nd floor of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Paris. Well, for analysis on this, we're joined by retired Interpol Ambassador Andy Mashaile. Andy, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Typically, how would an investigation of this sort be undertaken? Would it be a collaborative effort between, the French investigative authorities, inclusive of the South African investigative authorities, or does it remain, separated because of jurisdiction?
Good evening to you, Oliver, and the magnificent crew in the production room. Because of the stature of the man, you would have expected that South African police services and or law enforcement agencies form part and parcel of the investigation. And this did not happen. Were we given enough time to rally our forces so that they can be deployed to form part and parcel of the investigation? Was it that we were not wanted to form part and parcel of the investigation? What if South Africans, Oliver, you and I would say we don't believe that it is suicide, as we have heard that South African government says they have not been informed, the Minister of Police to be specific. Now, that means to me, I don't know what is going on as the Minister of Police, and I would like to know more.
Yeah, importantly, given that if the South African authorities, after receiving the report from the French authorities, feel like, wait, some questions here have not been answered, that there's missing links and potentially missing evidence and missing details, what are they left to do?
Obviously, government to government diplomatic channels, that issue would be raised there, would be left in the domain of the minister responsible for international cooperation. And at the ultimate end, it would be a situation where our government says we don't believe in the investigations. We would like to know more. Here's intelligence that we have picked up from our embassy. These are some of the facts that are not contained in your report as the French authorities. And we would like to know, why is it that this kind of information that we have picked up ourselves was not part and parcel of your report? So I'm basically saying government will have to object and protest at the outcomes of their report. Should they not be satisfied? Should we as government, or should the South African people not see the report for the paper, for the worth of the paper that it is written on? Obviously, government to government and all other related attending factors and institutions will protest and object.
Yeah, and just lastly, if that were to be the case, that is to say, if the South African authorities would want the investigation to be reopened and or for the investigation to, for certain questions to be answered, what would be the mechanisms through which they would go about doing so? Would it be through the diplomatic channels, given that this was a diplomatic investigation to an extent, right? Or would it be through the courts? Would it have to approach the French courts or the South African courts? What would that look like mechanistically?
If I were to advise our government, and for the sake of this discussion that you and I are having, I would look at all the steps in the process. Firstly, complaining at a diplomatic level, and secondly, if that fails, going to the French courts and raising it there, so that there can be a declaratory order from the police, from the French courts, that declares that, one, the death was not a suicide, two, South Africans can be best served by asking or getting the case that has been closed reopened at the end of the day for justice to prevail.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Andy, thank you so much for your time and your insights on this. Really do appreciate it. Andy Mashaile, former Interpol ambassador.